Hi everyone, let's go over my medium time frame and micro higher probability Elliott Wave scenarios on Bitcoin, starting with my medium time frame bullish and then bearish scenario, as we still expect more downside to come in a zigzag structure, being a 3-wave in B and then a 5-wave move to the downside in a wave C. In this scenario, I had a closer look inside this structure to the downside, and it is possible to actually count an impulse here to the downside, where this wave 4 then retraced to the 0.382, which is a common target for 4, but more importantly, wave 5 hit the most common target area of a wave 5, which is between the 1.236 and the 1.618, taken from the low to the highest high over here of wave 4, which is very nicely respected indeed, for then the beginning of a wave B. Now, if we look at this wave B, then the common targets for a wave B are all the fibs on the chart, the 382 to the 886, and that of course is a very big area. However, we can determine if B is already in or not based on the move that we get towards the downside, and because this move to the downside is a 3-wave structure and not a 5-wave structure, we can imagine, or at least the probabilities are higher, for this to not yet be the beginning of a bigger wave C to the downside, but still be a corrective structure for eventually another move to the upside, where this high is going to be taken. Now, if we look at some of the interesting resistance areas for a wave B, we have the triple top in confluence with the 0.5 around 30.4k, which is incredibly interesting. And above, we have the 786 in confluence with the 31.1k, 31.3k resistance area. So we have to wait and see how that is going to develop. The first structure of this wave B, in my opinion, is already finished, and then a 3-wave ABC expanding flat. Currently working on a second structure before then a third structure to the upside, where I am looking for that triple top level at 30.4k for then potentially a very interesting scenario to the downside, the swing failure pattern taking the highs, wicking the highs, then closing below and moving towards the downside. If we then zoom out, what is also interesting in confluence with that scenario I just mentioned is the volume profile of this range over here, which was first put in a chart by Liquid Mafia. So he actually put this picture in the chart, which also made me think and put it on my chart now, is that over here we were ranging to the downside, had a move up, reached the point of control of this area on the left, before then another move to the downside. And he said, well, we didn't yet hit the point of control of this whole range over here. So it could be interesting to hit that point of control and then see the same move towards the downside. So over here, what he's talking about is this volume profile, which is very interesting. Price moved up, hit the point of control and moved down. Currently, we are finding support on the value area high of this range over here. Now, as we are finding support on the value area high, it could be interesting to then move towards the upside and look for this point of control sitting at around 30.3k, and that is interesting because it is very close to the triple top that we have over here. And if we look at the value area high, the value area high is in confluence with my resistance area around 31k. So yeah, I think it was a very good post from Liquid Mafia just to remember people like, hey, we didn't yet hit this point of control, so that is definitely a level of interest. Of course, it does mean we first have to enter the value area. We got rejected twice now at the value area low of this volume profile over here. So first we have to manage to get inside, potentially have a retest before then moving towards that point of control or even the value area high. The other way is also possible, that if we are going to lose this value area high of this volume profile over here, and we are confidently moving towards the downside, going below the lows over here, then well, a next target to look for is going to be the point of control at 27.9 or the value area low at 26.2k. And we do have around the value area low an interesting support area, which is between 26.5, 26.2k, and just above we have another one between 26.8 and 27.4k. But it also means you see that around the point of control, I don't have too much support. You could have a support resistance flip. That is still something that is possible, because we have over here, if I actually go to the 12-hour and zoom out, remove the volume profile, you can see we had resistance, bit of support, bit of resistance over here, which could now act as support, which is just above the point of control. So this could be a confluence area, but you can also see that we actually push to the upside very quickly, and there is not too much structure here to hold price. So that is at least something that we have to keep in mind. If you then go to the micro scenario, move to the 15-minute time frame, then over here what has happened is that price has moved towards the downside and wicked the double bottom that we were looking for. We had a target box here as well, which was very, very nice. I was actually live in the YouTube Gold members when this actually happened over here, so that was quite interesting. So price moving to the downside here in that three-wave structure as mentioned before on the medium time frame scenario. Which is important, because if this is not an impulse, we can't really be looking for a deeper wave C to the downside, because you want to see a 5-wave move. But this looks very much like a 3-wave structure, and because this move is a 3-wave structure, we are immediately starting to look for potential scenarios where we then also find a little bit more upside. So price still needs to find some more strength in that case. Now over here we hit the most common target area of potentially an expanding flat in an A, B, and then a wave C to the upside, most common target area being between the 1.236 and the 1.38, pulled from the low of W to the high of A, and then a 3-wave A, 3-wave B, and then eventually a C to the upside. Now this wave B though, it is a bit awkward to count this structure to the downside, because this looks a little bit impulsive in a 5-wave move, but this over here does not look like a diagonal, because wave 5 is too long and is longer than wave 3. So that doesn't really work. So I'm still like thinking if this is potentially a first structure and then a 3-wave structure where you are going to take this low again and potentially even this low for then a deeper move, wick the low that we have down here before then potentially a move to the upside. Of course, if price would move down on a high amount of volume and we don't see a wick below this low, like a swing failure pattern, wicking below, closing above and up, then of course there is no potential setup over here. But it's quite difficult to look at this as a 3-wave structure. I did label it like this at the moment in my mind, but it can also be that this is a structure by itself. So this is one structure and then a 3, 3, and now you're going to be looking for a 3-wave structure to the downside. It's at least something we have to consider. Of course, price can move to the downside, find support here once again, basically retesting the double bottom resistance or support over here for then a move to the upside. And that is something that we have seen more often. Because if we go to the past for a second, then over here, what has happened before is we had this swing failure pattern, price moving above, going down, then retesting the swing failure pattern, basically the double top that we have before a push to the downside. And now we might have that same scenario, but then of course the other way around. So that is definitely something I'm keeping my eye on to see if price can find support around 28.9 if it moves towards the downside again. But in this scenario, we are then looking for a move towards the upside in the green X that you see. So potentially an A, B, C, or if we make another low, still looking for a move up depending on how price reacts at these lows. Interesting resistance areas above price is the time naked point of control and the daily here that you see on the right side. So that's some additional confluence for potentially a rejection for a wave X and then a wave Y to the downside. But it really depends on how price is going to react locally at the moment. We do have some CVD divergences. The second time bearish ones almost played out. So over here, very, very locally, you can see price moving to the upside, which is initially is very nice. You have bullish CVD divergences over here, looking good. Then the target is being 30K, the high over there. But then when price was moving to the upside and it started to reject and move to the downside, then each little bounce to the upside is being countered by bearish CVD divergences, which you see over here. So on the 15, you can see lower high on price, higher high on yellow, and then again, lower high on price, higher high on yellow. It is the second time now with the same pivot that we have a bearish CVD divergence where the target is then going to be this low over here. Now, as long as this low isn't taken, the bearish CVD or the bullish CVD divergence is not invalidated. I should actually say it differently. As long as this one isn't taken, the bullish divergences still stand, but preferably you're going to see more local bullish CVD divergence as well. So a bit of move to the upside, move down, some local bullish CVD divergences, higher low in price, but then a lower low on the CVD for then a move to the upside, meaning that on yellow, price has to move below this low over here on the 15-minute and on blue below this low over here on the 15-minute. Now you can find this template at the end screen coming up in the video that is positioned in the end screen as well as in Discord. And finally, the probabilities. which I think is important as well. Of course, these were the higher probabilities, so automatically these are the ones that I currently look at for then a move to the upside for a wave B, which I think is interesting around the triple top. And also on the micro, looking for that WXY scenario, or at least a bounce towards the upside, keeping in mind that it is the second CVD, and the second CVD usually has a bit of a lower probability of playing out. But at the same time, we just observe what's happening locally regarding volume, CVD divergences, and we base our opinions on that. But the first CVD divergence always has the highest probability of playing out, and the second one has a bit lower probability, and if this one plays out and it goes up again with the third one, it has even less probabilities. So yeah, I think the CVD, it's a bit confusing at the moment. Of course, there's a lot happening on the CVD more locally. We also had some bullish CVD, by the way, on blue over here. We had a bit of a higher low and a lower low over here on blue with this little high, where the target is this high, but we didn't take it, right? It got countered with the bearish CVD divergence. So it's quite confusing on the lower time frame, but at least you now know what I am looking at. So I hope this video was helpful or valuable to you. Please check out the most recent educational video I've made about the best trading indicator you can use, in my opinion, which is the CVD. For now, thanks for watching. Have a great weekend. Subscribe if you enjoy the content, and I'd like to see you at the next one. Bye-bye.